I want to cover a couple things. First, I was thinking of yesterday. Did that hike, went back to the waterfall. There's a young couple. I went in there, just shot some video both on my phone and on my camera. I need to go back through that video. I'm going to number them. I'm going to re-edit it, and I'm going to try to add some audio tracks in there. Just try my hand at that type of thing, see if I can do it or not. But there was a young couple. There's a little park, there's a little bench, just outside of. Several hundred feet. I put the pack that I had hiked in there with. I had a 2-liter bottle in there, and I had two bottles of water along with my camera and some other gear. And that pack got a little bit heavy, so I think next time, as long as it's cool like this, I'll have just a 2-liter bottle. I'm going to skip the water. But I heard there's a young couple. They started giggling, and I said, I know what's going on there, But it's kind of. I'm still trying to figure out, why my ghost meter was beeping like that. I'm thinking that might be a ghost hanging around. That's a beautiful spot back in where that waterfall's at, and I took my meter out and I just asked, and I'm thinking the ghost may have not realized that they were setting my meter off and not realized that they were affecting it that way. Maybe it was my meter was my back pocket, so maybe they just like hugging strange people. I don't know. I think there's two other spots that I just thinking about. It was the Winnie Roost Judd house. She was a winner of a drunken gun battle. Oh, this happened back in the 1930s, in Phoenix, and she was a winner of a gun battle with her and two of her friends, but she ended up in L.A. with bodies all cut up in these trunks. Blood was running out, so she left, and then they found her. They extradited her back to Phoenix to end trial. They was going to hang her, but supposedly she was having an affair with some prominent politician, and he had her. This is a rumor. You can find a story, but he had her declared mentally insane. So the media, newspapers are going to want to interview her, and she's got to spill the beans. But if he has her declared insane, they're less likely to believe her. But she spent 20, 30 years in the state mental hospital. She escaped and come back and escaped and come back. And she eventually ended up, getting pardoned by the governor at that time. And she was a maid for a couple in California. And actually, I guess she stayed with them until she died, I don't know, back in the 70s or 80s somewhere. But very, very interesting story. But the house is still there. It's private property. You can't get in there. But sometime when I'm done that part of Phoenix, I'm going to take my ghost meter down there and just ask. But Winnie Roost, I just still hanging down there. Another individual most people here probably are not going to know is Bob Crane. He played Colonel Hogan on Hogan's Heroes, and he was playing this is back 79 or 80, somewhere back in. He was in a play in Scottsdale. That's the rich part of the valley. You got to be rich to live there. But anyway, they found him beaten to death. I think somebody had beaten him with a tripod. I'll get to that in a second. But I think the motel that he was staying at is still there. I need to find out and just see what the deal is there. But there was. No one has ever been convicted of his murder. There's one guy stood trial, but he got acquitted for lack of evidence. But that would be interesting to do a ghost video there. But the theories on who might have killed him, there's 3 or 4 people one guy was sponging. Well, I guess several people was kind of sponging off of him. There was one person he was going to cut off. They thought that person might have beat him to death with a tripod. He was also making porno videos with married women, and the thought was maybe the husband of one of these married women beat him to death. Or he had an ex-wife. He had about 3 or 4 ex-wives. One of them, she was on the TV show Hogan's Heroes. I think she played Helgars, one of the secretaries for Colonel Klink. But he had ended up marrying her and then divorcing her. The fact that she might have beat him to death for one or number of reasons. Maybe she's jealous that he's making porno videos. I don't know, but it's a kind of a interesting piece of almost forgotten Arizona history, but if the motel or hotel is still there, and I don't think too many people have done ghost videos from that because it's not a really well-known piece of history. But just to my thoughts from this morning. Okay, love y'all. Bye-bye.